In Module 1, we will discuss the Synthesis Standard kit packaging and its contents. The kit box measures approximately 65 inches by 53 inches, and it weighs about 550 pounds. When unloading, use a standard forklift with standard forks. You will need at least 2 people to safely unload this box. Remove the panels by lifting them straight up and out of the box. Never drag the panel across the others, as this can cause damage. It's very important this product is shipped and stored in a flat position to make sure nothing is stacked on top of it. Inside the box, you'll find all the necessary parts and hardware you'll need to install the system. 258.5 by 47.25 vitrified porcelain composite wall panels, 4 35 7/8 by 47.25 vitrified porcelain composite wall panels, 8 return wall brackets, 8 back wall brackets, 12 1/16 inch bottom back wall spacers, 64 number 8 by 1 inch bracket installation wood screws, 4 36 by 6 3/4 inch moisture resistant skirt boards, 2 60 by 6 3/4 inch moisture resistant skirt boards, 4 48 by 2 by 1/4 inch moisture resistant strips, 68 screws for moisture resistant skirt boards and strips, 10 lippage control posts and caps, 1 roll of closed cell foam membrane, 1 roll of watertight flashing, 2 tubes of translucent adhesive sealant, 1 tube of color matched 100% silicone sealant. The color is shown on the bottom of the tube. 1 cartridge of 2-part epoxy adhesive with extra mixing tips. In Module 2, we will discuss the installation kit and its contents. The installation kit is a one-time purchase and includes an aluminum vertical jig that is used for installing the return wall brackets for horizontal and vertical installations. The aluminum jig comes with a mending plate that will allow you to reduce its height for tub installations and return it to its original height. It also comes with a 250 milliliter epoxy applicator gun that will be used for applying the 2-part epoxy. In Module 3, we will discuss the synthesis cutting kit and its contents. Be sure to use proper protective equipment when altering the synthesis panels. Synthesis panels will produce silica dust, which, when inhaled, is known to cause silicosis, an irreversible but preventable lung disease. Exposure to respirable silica dust may also cause other serious diseases, including lung cancer. If the panels must be cut without water, a safety dust mask approved for silica dust by OSHA is required. The synthesis cutting kit is sold separately and is comprised of the commonly used porcelain tooling that has been thoroughly tested with our products. Inside the cutting kit, you will receive 1 5-inch Diamax porcelain cutting blade for altering panels, 1 gritting pad backer for an angle grinder, 1 50 grit diamond grinding pad for grinding back and smoothing cut edges, 1 3.5-inch porcelain core bit for most standard shower diverters, 1 1.25-inch porcelain core bit for plumbing connections, 1 3/8-inch porcelain core bit for pilot holes and screw holes, 1 60 grit finger bit for contouring. In Module 4, we will discuss the tools needed to install the synthesis shower system. Be sure to use proper protective equipment when altering the synthesis panels. Synthesis panels will produce silica dust, which when inhaled is known to cause silicosis, an irreversible but preventable lung disease. Exposure to respirable silica dust may also cause other serious diseases, including lung cancer. If panels must be cut without water, a safety dust mask approved for silica dust by OSHA is required. To install synthesis products, you will need the following tooling. 1 5-inch electric corded angle grinder, 13 amp recommended. Battery-powered grinders should not be used. 1 angle grinder blade designed for cutting porcelain. 5.0-inch Diamax Cyclone porcelain blade or similar. 1 angle grinder core bits designed for cutting porcelain. Apex UCS porcelain core bit or similar. 1 3.5-inch core bit for the most common shower diverters. 1 1.25-inch core bit for plumbing fittings. 1 3/8-inch core bit for drilling pilot holes for cutouts or accessories. 1 60 grit finger bit for shaping and contouring. 1 angle grinder base attachment with 50 grit stone polishing pad. Weha Matrix Dry 50 or similar. 1 pencil. 1 tape measure. 1 caulk gun. 1 6-foot spirit bubble level and 2-foot spirit bubble level. 1 painter's tape. 1 carpenter's square. 1 Phillips screwdriver. 1 drill. 1 impact driver with a Phillips screwdriver bit. 1 spray bottle of water, 1 pair 8-inch glass handling suction cups, eye protection, a safety dust mask approved for silica dust, hearing protection, 1 360-degree laser level optional, 1 clamp or speed clamp. In Module 5, we will discuss the shower pans that are compatible with the Synthesis shower system. We recommend self-leveling all shower pan areas prior to the pan being installed. When using an acrylic shower pan, it must have a water dam at least 1/2 inch tall and a threshold landing spot for the panel of 1¼ inch. Preformed shower pans are one of the most common tileable shower pans on the market. Any of these manufacturers' shower pans can be used. When installing a preformed shower pan, you will install a 6 3/4 inch tall and 1/4 inch thick pan skirt on the perimeter of the shower base. Then proceed to install the shower pan and drain to manufacturer's specifications. Follow the manufacturer's specifications for waterproofing all seams and joints. When considering using the KBRS shower pan, please keep the following in mind. When using the KBRS standard tile basin, this pan does not have a solid curb and must be installed in the customer's home before tile can be installed because it utilizes a point drain, which uses a 3-piece drain assembly. Point drain outlets are available in a variety of forms to suit an array of drain sizes and designs. When using the KBRS XP shower pan, this pan has a solid curb and has a self-sealing anchoring layer that automatically seals around the screws when penetrated and securely holds the screws in place. This shower pan can be tiled in a shop prior to installing it in the customer's home.
The XP shower pan utilizes a no-caulk hub drain with a compression gasket and has 4 set screws to mechanically set the height of the drain to your tile.
Traditional mud-based pans can be used with our system. Install a 6 3/4 inch tall and 1/4 inch thick pan skirt around the perimeter before installing the mud bed. Please reach out to your Synthesis representative when considering a zero-entry shower. It is recommended that you tile your shower pan prior to installing the Synthesis system. This will allow you to remove the panels if needed after installation. Tiling your shower pan after installing the Synthesis system will lock the panels in, not allowing them to be removed.
In Module 6, we will discuss the framing needed to install the Synthesis shower system. Prior to installation of the Synthesis system, make sure your return walls are flat and the studs are in line. This can be accomplished by using a level. If any of the studs are out and not in line, you may have to sister a stud or plane a stud to create a flat, inline substrate to install to. In Module 7, we will discuss the blocking needed for the Synthesis backwall bracket. When installing blocking for the backwall bracket, you can install a block for each of the brackets at the height of where the bracket will be installed, or you can install one stud on its side from the floor to the ceiling to accommodate all the brackets. In Module 8, we will discuss the blocking needed for installing accessories to the Synthesis system. When installing accessories, standard blocking is required for all accessories that attach with a screw. Make sure the hardware that comes with the accessory is the proper length to reach the blocking. Never use any type of anchoring system that attaches the accessory to the panel and not the blocket. In Module 9, we will discuss the layout of the back of the panel. The top horizontal section, bottom horizontal section, and 3½ inch vertical section on the panel are all 1/4 inch moisture-resistant backer. The 2 horizontal middle sections of the panel are 1/2 inch moisture-resistant backer. For the back walls, either side of the panel may be altered. For the return panels, the following rules apply. The side of the panel with a 3½ inch vertical backer has a 1/2 inch profile and should always face the outside of the shower and should never be altered. The side without 3½ inch vertical backer has a 3/4 inch profile and should always face the back wall. All alterations should always be done on the 3/4 inch profile side of the return panel. The 1/4 inch top horizontal section and bottom horizontal section can be used as the seam line. The horizontal section used for the seam line should be a manufacturer edge of the panel and should never be altered. Any alterations for height should be done to the bottom of the panel. When altering a panel, proper safety equipment should be used. Synthesis panels will produce silica dust, which when inhaled is known to cause silicosis, an irreversible but preventable lung disease. Exposure to respirable silica dust may also cause other serious diseases, including lung cancer. If panels must be cut without water, a safety dust mask approved for silica dust by OSHA is required. All panels may be modified for height as follows. Up to 22 inches may be cut from the top edge of the top wall panel. Up to 5 inches may be cut from the bottom edge of the bottom wall panel. When modifying a panel for height, remember all panels will need to be modified accordingly. When altering the width of a back wall panel. When cutting a panel, proper safety equipment should be used. Either the left or right side of the panel may be cut. The width of the back wall panel must always be 1/2 inch narrower than the width of the framing. For more information on altering the panels, please refer to the written instructions and snippet videos on our YouTube page.
In Module 10, we will discuss the brackets used for installing the synthesis system. The back wall bracket is a 90-degree angle bracket. This bracket will be used to install the back wall of the shower system and has the functionality to be able to plumb the back wall while installing. The standard return wall bracket is a straight bracket that measures approximately 17 1/4 inches long and 2 3/4 inches wide. This bracket will be used to install the return walls and can be used for knee wall installations. The short return wall bracket is a straight bracket that measures approximately 4 inches long and 2 3/4 inches wide. This bracket will be used in pairs, in place of the standard return wall bracket in situations where something impedes the use of the standard bracket. On return walls measuring more than 36 inches wide, 2 return wall brackets should be used, placing them on the farmost left and right side of the wall. This can be a combination of standard return wall brackets and short return wall brackets. In Module 11, we will determine the high point of the pan. Using a laser level, measure all 4 corners of the pan to determine the highest point. This can also be done by using a bubble level and drawing a line around the shower. By finding the highest and lowest point of the pan, you can determine if any of the panel bottoms will need to be altered. When installing the synthesis panels, always start at the highest point in the pan to ensure you maintain the same level joint at both the pan and seam levels. When altering a panel, proper safety equipment should be used. Synthesis panels will produce silica dust, which, when inhaled, is known to cause silicosis, an irreversible but preventable lung disease. Exposure to respirable silica dust may also cause other serious diseases, including lung cancer. If panels must be cut without water, a safety dust mask approved for silica dust by OSHA is required. Starting at your lowest point, cut the bottom edge of the bottom panel out of square to accommodate the difference between the highest and lowest points of your shower pan. This modification may require altering all of the bottom panels in the synthesis system. This modification will require the brackets on your vertical jig to be reconfigured. In Module 12, we will discuss the installation of waterproof backerboard pan skirts and seam skirts. Installing the waterproof backerboard. The 1/4 inch waterproof backer pieces included in your synthesis porcelain shower surround kit are to be used as backer pieces at the front of the shower to provide suitable attachment for shower doors. These pieces are to be attached to the doubled 2x4 wall studs on each side of the opening and behind the front edges of the synthesis wall panels. Place one of the 48 inch by 2 inch by 1/4 inch waterproof backerboard pieces vertically on one side of the opening against the doubled 2x4 wall studs and resting on the flange water dam of your shower pan. Attach the waterproof backerboard using the provided 1 1/4 inch waterproof backerboard screws. Use 5 screws per piece in an offset pattern from top to bottom. Place another waterproof backerboard piece vertically on top of the piece that was just installed. If necessary, trim the length of the piece to fit your installation. Attach this second waterproof backerboard piece using the provided 1 1/4 inch waterproof backerboard screws in the same quantity and pattern as noted above. Using the same steps and methodology, repeat this process to install 2 waterproof backerboard pieces on the opposite side of the shower opening. Installation of the pan skirts. The pan skirts will consist of 1 60-inch by 6 3/4 inch and 2 at 36 inch by 6 3/4 inch, both being 1/4 inch thick. They will not have a fabric piece installed on them. Start by installing the shower pan skirt on the back wall. Place a heavy bead of clear sealant on the bottom edge of the moisture-resistant shower pan skirt. Place the shower pan skirt horizontally on top of the shower pan flange and attach the skirt to the wall studs using 2 rows of the provided screws on each stud, 1 at the top of the skirt and 1 at the bottom. Install the shower pan skirts on the left and right return walls using the same steps and methodology as above, but trimming them to fit between the 1/4 inch waterproof backerboard strip and the back wall pan skirt. Add a heavy bead of clear sealant on the back edge of the skirt where it abuts the pan skirt on the back wall. Installation of seam skirts.
The seam skirts will consist of one 60-inch by 6 3/4-inch skirt and two skirts at 36 inches by 6 3/4 inches, both being a 1/4 inch thick, and will have a 3-inch piece of fabric installed on them. The seam skirt should be installed with the fabric facing out towards you. The center of the seam skirt is located 47 1/4 inches up from the threshold or panel ledge of your modular one-piece shower pan, or from the floor of your tile-ready shower pan. This will ensure equal overlaps behind both the top and bottom panels. Attach the seam skirt horizontally to the wall studs, using 2 rows of the provided screws in each stud, one at the top of the skirt and one at the bottom. Install the seam skirts on the left and right return walls, using the same steps and methodology as above, but trimming them to fit between the 1/4 inch waterproof backerboard strip and the back wall seam skirt. Add a heavy bead of clear sealant on the back edge of the skirt, where it abuts the seam skirt on the back wall. In Module 13, we will be installing the flashing. The flashing will come in 3 pieces, one 14-foot piece to flash the pan skirt and 2 10-foot pieces to flash the 2 corners. Start by installing the pan flashing. Use the 14-foot length of flashing to flash the pan skirt to the shower pan flange from the left front of the shower all the way around to the right front of the shower, using one continuous piece. Continue by installing the vertical corner flashing. Use the 2 10-foot lengths of flashing to flash the 2 back corners of the shower. Starting at the top of the wall, apply the flashing down each corner in one continuous piece, covering the center seam skirt and continuing over the shower pan before finishing inside the flange of the shower pan. In Module 14, we will learn how to set up the vertical jig. Begin by placing 2 sidewall panels facing down on a flat, soft surface. Place lippage control spacers between panels at the center seam. Lay the vertical jig next to the laid out panels and loosen all the hardware. If the sidewall panels' bottoms were altered, place the jig on the longest side of the 2 panels. Place the appropriate back wall bottom panel spacer at the bottom of the panel and align the jig such that it overhangs the bottom of the bottom panel and flush with the spacer. Place the return wall bracket in the track on the back of the panel, making sure you have good engagement. This is bad engagement. This is good engagement. Starting from the bottom of the panel, engage the bracket into the track and tighten the jig hardware. Repeat this step for the remaining brackets. Altering the jig. See snippet video on our YouTube channel to learn how to alter the jig height. In Module 15, we will install the spacers on the lower panel of the back wall. The spacers are 1/16 inch thick. You can stack them if needed to achieve your desired spacing. Do not exceed 3/16 of inch in height. Install the 4 spacers on the bottom of the back wall panel. Space each spacer or spacer stack equal distances on the bottom of the panel. This will be the only panel that will have spacers installed. In Module 16, we will be measuring and installing the back wall brackets. Each back wall panel will have 4 back wall brackets. These brackets will be placed on the top and bottom track of each panel. Measure the distance between the studs at the rear of the framing. This will determine how to set the back wall brackets. Installing the back wall brackets. The back wall bracket will come pre-assembled. Install the back wall bracket by sliding the T-slot washers into the track. The distance between the 2 back wall brackets should equal the distance measured earlier minus a 1/16 inch on each side. Use a carpenter square to square the bracket to the track. In Module 17, we will be test fitting the back wall. Install the bottom back wall. Use a bubble level to make sure the bottom panel is plumb. Once you have achieved plumb, place a single screw in each bracket to secure the panel to the return walls. Place 4 lippage control spacers on the top edge of the bottom panel. Cut and fit the top panel for the back wall of the shower. Rest the bottom edge of the top panel on the lippage control spacers at the top of the bottom panel. Use a bubble level to make sure the top panel is plumb. Once you have achieved plumb, place a screw in each bracket to secure the panel to the return walls. In Module 18, we will be installing the closed cell foam membrane on the return walls. Thoroughly clean the side of the panel before applying the closed cell foam membrane.
Apply the closed-cell foam membrane stripping to the back edge of all 4 return wall panels from top to bottom, holding it back 1/8 inch from the face of the panel. This closed-cell membrane stripping will provide an additional seal behind the color-match silicone sealant in the joint between the return wall panels and back wall panels. Be sure to push the return panel tightly against the back wall panel to ensure that the closed-cell foam is fully and uniformly compressed. This will ensure that this critical part of the waterproofing process will function as intended. In Module 19, we will test fit the 2 bottom return wall panels to ensure proper heights of the pan and seam joints. Using the vertical jig, install the bottom return wall bracket only. Place the vertical jig against the return wall. Clamp the jig to the center seam skirt. Place a 6-foot bubble level against the side of the jig to ensure the brackets will be level. On the bottom return wall bracket, drill a pilot hole using a 3/32 drill bit in the middle of the slotted hole. Using the provided number 8 screws, installing the screws in the slotted, drilled pilot holes. Engage the bottom panel track to the bottom return wall bracket. To check engagement, you can hold the panel to the return wall and pull the bottom of the panel toward you using a suction cup to ensure engagement of the return wall bracket. Make sure the seams line up at both the bottom of the panel and at the top of the panel. You should maintain a 1/8 inch grout line at the pan and center seam. Adjust as needed. Complete this process for both return walls. In Module 20, we will be doing the final installation on the back wall. In this module, we will be using 2-part epoxy. Time is of the essence when working with the 2-part epoxy. To avoid potential misalignment on the face of the panels, make sure that all panels are installed and the lippage control caps tightened before the 2-part epoxy adhesive has cured. You will have approximately 8 minutes of work time. Using a pencil, mark the remaining holes in the back wall brackets and draw a line in front of the bracket to ensure its install position when doing the final installation of the back wall. Remove the back wall panels. Prior to using the 2-part epoxy, you first must purge the static mixing tip. To purge, squeeze the handle of the applicator gun until it releases a quarter-sized pile. Apply a heavy horizontal bead of translucent adhesive or sealant on the face of the back wall shower pan skirt at 3 inches above the shower pan. Apply a heavy horizontal bead of translucent adhesive or sealant on the face of the back wall seam skirt at 2 inches below the seam line. Apply a horizontal bead of 2-part epoxy adhesive on the face of the back wall seam skirt at 1 inch below the seam line. Push the bottom panel into place, lining up the screw holes from the test fit. Use a bubble level to ensure it's plumb. Install the provided number 8 screws in the back wall brackets. Install 4 lippage control spacers on the top of the bottom back panel. Apply a 1/2 inch horizontal bead of 2-part epoxy adhesive on the face of the back wall seam skirt at 1 inch above the top edge of the bottom panel. Apply a heavy horizontal bead of translucent adhesive or sealant on the face of the back wall seam skirt at 2 inches above top edge of the bottom panel. Rest the bottom edge of the top panel on the lippage control spacers at the top of the bottom panel. Push the upper panel into place, lining up the screw holes from the test fit. Use a bubble level to ensure it's plumb. Tighten the caps on the lippage control spacers to remove any misalignment between the faces of the top and bottom panels. Install the provided number 8 screws in the back wall brackets. Use a minimum of 3 screws in each bracket. Leave the lippage control spacers in until the end of the shower installation. In Module 21, we will be installing the remaining return wall brackets. With the back wall fully installed, we can now test fit the side walls and install them. Place the vertical jig back up against the side wall. Engage the jig to the first bracket already installed from testing the seam height. Clamp the jig to the center seam skirt. Place a 6-foot bubble level against the side of the jig, ensuring the brackets will be level. You will now install the remaining 3 return wall brackets on each of the return walls. Mark the center of each of the slotted holes on the return wall brackets. Drill a pilot hole using a 3/32 drill bit in the remaining marked holes. Install the remaining return wall brackets using the provided number 8 screws. Repeat for the other return wall.
In Module 22, we will show the installation of the short return wall bracket. This example is when 2 brackets are needed. The short return wall bracket is a straight bracket that measures approximately 4 inches long and 2 3/4 inches wide. This bracket will be used in pairs in place of the standard return wall bracket in situations where something impedes the use of the standard bracket. This bracket can also be used if a return wall panel exceeds 36 inches in width. Place a level on the first bracket installed and install the second bracket. In Module 23, we will test fit the return walls to ensure you have proper alignment with the back wall panels. It is now time to test fit and install the return walls. Make sure you have proper center seam alignment. Install the bottom panel first. Place the panel on the floor and lift 1/8 of an inch up and push the panel to the wall to engage the bracket. Pull back on suction cup to ensure brackets are engaged. Place lippage control spacers at the top of the bottom panel. Lift the top panel and place it on the lippage control spacers. Lift the panel up about 1/8 of an inch and push tight to the stud wall. The panel will engage with the return wall brackets and drop back down 1/8 of an inch. Pull back on suction cup to ensure brackets are engaged. Install lippage control post caps to ensure correct flatness.
Repeat for the other return wall.
In Module 24, we will mark the panels and complete the return bracket installation. Once the fit is satisfactory, label all the panels and their orientation to ensure they are installed in the correct location during the final installation. Remove the return wall panels.
Drill a pilot hole using a 3/32 drill bit in the round set screw holes.
Install the remaining return wall brackets using the provided number 8 screws. In Module 25, we will be completing the final installation of the return walls. In this module, we will be using 2-part epoxy. Time is of the essence when working with the 2-part epoxy. To avoid potential misalignment on the face of the panels, make sure that all panels are installed and the lippage control caps tightened before the 2-part epoxy adhesive has cured. You will have approximately 8 minutes of work time. Prior to using the 2-part epoxy, you first must purge the static mixing tip. To purge, squeeze the handle of the applicator gun until it releases a quarter-sized pile. Apply a heavy, horizontal bead of translucent adhesive or sealant on the face of the return wall shower pan skirt at 3 inches above the shower pan. Apply a heavy, horizontal bead of translucent adhesive or sealant on the face of the return wall seam skirt at 2 inches below the seam line. Apply a 1/2 inch horizontal bead of 2-part epoxy adhesive on the face of the return wall seam skirt at 1 inch below the seam line. Apply a 1/2 inch horizontal bead of 2-part epoxy adhesive on the face of the back wall seam skirt at 1 inch above the seam line. Apply a heavy, horizontal bead of translucent adhesive or sealant on the face of the return wall seam skirt at 2 inches above the seam line. Install the bottom return panel the same as in test fitting. Install lippage control posts. Set top panel on lippage control posts and install the same as in test fitting. Install the lippage control caps to ensure correct flatness. Repeat this process for the remaining return wall. In Module 26, we'll be completing the synthesis shower system installation. Wait 30 minutes after the last panel was installed. To remove the lippage control caps from all panels, unscrew them from their base. Use a utility knife to cut out the lippage control spacers. Place your utility knife blade at a 45-degree angle and make cuts to the top and bottom of the spacer until it releases. Multiple blades will be needed to complete this step. Make sure no part of the remaining spacer is protruding out of the seam. Using the color-matched 100% silicone sealant,
Thoroughly fill and smooth the center seam, corner seams, and the seam between the bottom panel and the pan. You can use what technique you feel comfortable with to apply silicone. Some people tape above and below the joint prior to filling. Some people use water and Dawn dish soap on their final strike.